it was something that just really piqued my interest, that you could have this layer of commentary and humor and ways of processing the world with other people beyond just and art, obviously, with Phish, beyond just what you're fed in mainstream media and whatnot.
Welcome to Log Off. Everyone has an internet story to tell, and today we're getting Brandon Wenerd. Brandon is an internet OG who's worn every hat in the content game. Back in 2008, he co-founded BroBible, a media empire that quickly developed a huge audience and was acquired just a few years later by UPROXX, only to be reacquired by most of the brand's original partners in 2018. He remains the publisher and face of the brand today. I've had the pleasure of working with Brandon at several checkpoints along that journey, including the last 4 years with BroBible being a client of my company, Pennant Digital. And I've loved watching him do everything: write about sports and culture, record engaging podcasts, become an adventure-seeking on-camera influencer, and even put together killer sales decks and lock in huge brand deals. We'll get to all of that. But first, Brandon, let's start this podcast the way we always do. At the beginning, what is your earliest internet memory?
It's like that pre-56K modem days where you know, we had a computer in the basement, and we didn't even have a second phone line for it at the time. It was so ruthlessly slow. And it was just like straight up the chaos of like AOL things back in the day. That's 100% like my first internet memory. And that was probably like 5th grade ish. Just trying to, and my parents were very supportive of like, hey, this thing is the future, like go explore it, without a lot of like supervision. and you know, that kind of is the very beginning, that OG, like, you know, 1995, 96 era internet of a lot of things and just a lot of information.
Do you remember what you were trying to consume on that terrible connection? Like, were you trying to load like information, or was it like communicating with people? Like, what was your go-to as soon as you finally got it to connect?
It was like chat rooms, like really those really chaotic like chat rooms where there was just a mile a minute of typing and no real purpose for the chat itself. Usually it would be like around, you know, whatever, like stuff that I was interested in at the time, like the, you know, like the Chicago Bulls, like in Jordan and stuff like that. But that was really the very, very beginning. I remember one time when my dad and I were just like experimenting, just like trying to just do like dumb conversation in a chat room. And like none of it went anywhere, but it was so mind-blowing to have that experience. Especially when you think that you were like the first generation of humankind to do that, you know?
Yeah. We were pioneers. We just didn't realize it at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we get into too much of the professional stuff, I would be remiss if I didn't mention your Phish fandom. It's a very large part of your personality. I was trying to figure out like the best way to tie that into an internet focused podcast. What are like some of your favorite ways to engage with the community?
Yeah, well, I think that's actually like a good, you know, I remember those kind of early like homepage Windows 95, 98, like era internet experiences. And that sort of led its way to just me wanting to like create a lot of stuff as a kid online. I got really into making like GeoCities pages back in the day. I think I had 4 at one point in time, and self-taught myself like HTML back when it was not really like, you had to do a lot of kind of mental gymnastics in order to find the ways to be able to build it. It definitely wasn't taught in school. But I remember like very, very vividly building these GeoCities pages. And a lot of what I wanted to do with them was like just have an outlet to write things. Um, and it was like I made one GeoCities page. I was really into like, I love traveling, and I was really into like guidebooks and that sort of thing. I made this one GeoCities page that was all of these like cities on Route 66. I made another one that was like just regurgitating and paraphrasing information from like the encyclopedia on like jazz history and like really weird like things. I had another one on NBA basketball. And I was just like randomly building all of these pages, making like the whole scroll, if you will, to it, and then and putting all this kind of information into it. It got visits the way that like those things got visits, and it was really just something to do for fun, as in being creative. Then as I got older, a lot of my online experience became really focused around music and around like Phish and that online community experience. Um, I got my first Phish CD in 8th grade, and instantly kind of go on the computer and start digging into what this message board community around this band looks like, and just kind of have my mind blown on this community that has all these inside jokes, and there's this extra layer to the experience beyond the media and the live experience that just happens online. And there were a couple of message boards that I sort of lurked around on, got really into the inside jokes of, and then eventually started trading like CDs of shows and live recordings, where we would, these message board communities were really big into just burning CDs and then sending them to each other to build up your like live Phish audio collection. I had this huge binder of like 400 CDs in high school of just live Phish shows, all burnt from like, you know, Maxwell 70-minute like discs and whatnot. And you know, like that experience was just like the coolest thing to me. Like, hey, there are all these people out there. I don't know who they are, but we have something in common. And there's kind of a ebb and flow to how we trade information and offer our experiences. And the Phish community was really, really big and central in that. And then also, and I also just thought it was I also just thought it was hilarious. Like there were all of these inside jokes that, you know, it was just a different level of like media consumption. And I think that kind of began the through line of, you know, eventually my career, but like it was something that just really piqued my interest, that you could have this layer of commentary and humor and ways of processing the world with other people beyond just, and art obviously with Phish, beyond just what you're fed in mainstream media and whatnot.
Yeah, you posted a photo not that long ago on Instagram of you selling parking lot spaghetti before a Phish show 20 years ago, and you never would have seen that photo if not for the internet. Can you talk about how you discovered it?
Yeah, that was the absolute craziest thing. So in 2004, my brother and I went to Saratoga Springs to see Phish in June of that year. We were young. I had just graduated high school. He was 16. And I had this like harebrained idea to sell spaghetti on the parking lot. And it was this idea that I had from a chef that of the country club that I worked at in high school. I was just out of college, and like, you know, I was like, oh, cool. I can, you know, maybe pay for this trip or make a little bit of money doing this. So we loaded up like a green Coleman camping stove, table, whole 9 yards, drove my little Pontiac Sunfire to Saratoga from Central Pennsylvania, and then we had a little sign that said Hetty Spaghetti, and we sold these like $5 big plates of spaghetti and sauce that were warmed up on the Coleman stove before the show. We made a couple $100 doing it. We like fully like sold out of it, and there was a lot of like novelty factor from older Phish fans at the time that were like, "Who the hell are these kids and what are they doing?" But sure, I'll buy a plate of spaghetti off of you. And you know, I mean, it was fun, and then like, you know, it kind of, the moment ended, and then time marched on, and then a couple years later, this guy who's based in Central New York, around Albany, his name's Fan Art Pete. He runs all these community art shows in the Phish community, and he shared a photo online of like basically my stand at SPAC that he took in 2004. And it's my brother and I just chilling, hanging out. Like, he, you know, I don't know if he took it on like a, you know, very elementary digital camera, or, you know, a little like portable camera, temporary camera thing. But he shared it online, and I was like, dude, you know that's me, right? And I've known him online for a very long time now. I was like, dude, you know that's me. And he was like, I had no clue. And it was just like a very surreal like experience to be like, oh yeah, this thing I did 20 years ago, in a very, very different era of the internet. Like, it's like it is being remembered somehow.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
I was doing more Brandon Phish research, and I came across an article in 2014 you wrote for Vice. Do you remember it?
Yeah, definitely. Very much so.
In defense of Phish. Do you remember what sparked that?
Yeah. So Vice had this, this is like the big hot take era of internet publishing. And Vice had they had this music imprint, Noisy, that was kind of a part of the Shane Smith media empire there. And Noisy had an editor that just like trashed Phish really hard, like big hot take, like kind of all the cliches about the fan base that you can go into, all the cliches that you can go into about the music, you know, 25-minute jams, etc. Like, it's nothing that I think any Phish fan had never heard before, but like, it was very galvanizing at the time. And for Vice, it was kind of genius because like that thing drives traffic. Like,
Yep.
you did like, that's why everybody did hot takes back in the day. Like, because you pick a contrarian point of view, and then everybody in that hive swarms to it, and you get traffic and impressions out of it.
Yep.
So they wanted to, I think because Vice was very mainstream and at the time, and growing in a really big way, they wanted to kind of have a little balance to that ship. So their editor, this guy named Drew Millard, reached out, and he followed me on Twitter and was like, hey, can you write, none of us are really like Phish fans, but can you write a like counter to it? And yeah, I was like, absolutely, like that would be a pleasure. And that was fun because it built kind of more of a community for me around Phish personally. And then professionally, it made me realize too that there was a lane for this thing that I really love in the world of BroBible too. And it doesn't have to, you know, we can bring these things in from that are in our interests into the BroBible world, and have them be kind of a part of our DNA as well.
That's great. Yeah, it's so well written, and it seems to hold up still today. I was just reading like the last stanza. It says, I dare you to go to a Phish show and find anyone genuinely concerned with being cool or anything other than simply having a good time, which kind of sums up you, actually.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Thanks for
Yeah.
putting it like that, Ryan.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm
Guess
here
I
to
never
fluff you
thought
up.
about it like that.
All right, before we get into the BroBible stuff, I went on your LinkedIn yesterday because I'm very good at research, and I saw a project we've never discussed before. Can you describe what it was like working with Hunter S. Thompson's widow to curate a book of his interviews?
Yeah. Um, well, that was so when I was in college, especially my first 2 years of college, I really had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do with my life,
Mhm.
or career or anything like that. I wanted to be an English teacher, just because I had a lot of wonderful English teachers and was really passionate about writing, um, reading, literature, communication, all that kind of thing. And Hunter Thompson was someone that I had read a lot in high school and those early couple years of college. When he committed suicide in 2005, I went really, really deep into just his canon of literature. Um, I had an American literature class at Penn State at the time. So I did a lot of like term paper writing around Hunter Thompson, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, that sort of thing. Specifically tying it back to like Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald and all of the other like literary greats that he was influenced by. Um, and Anita, his widow, had this blog called the Owl Farm blog, where she was kind of sharing thoughts in the wake of his suicide about Hunter, about just kind of day to day life in in the Rockies in Colorado, and information on behind the scenes on kind of the memorial service that they were planning, that became this big like celebrity event thing. And I mean, that was like a great era of just really simple blogging and providing this like behind the scenes kind of diary. And many other people were doing that at the time with these new communication mediums that we had. And it was a part of my like media consumption, read it regularly. And then one day, I was just like, you know what, I'm going to email her. And so I sent her an email, mentioned kind of how we're talking about Hunter in like a lot of my American literature classes in that email. And we sort of start this uh, back and forth communication. She then, we start talking, and she's like, I need someone to put together, or I've had this idea where I want to put together a book of Hunter's interviews over the years and have it be an anthology that can live in like libraries and just preserve things for the record. I mean, the guy's done hundreds and hundreds of interviews over the course of his 5 decade career. So I mean, that was music to my ears to be a part of that, and it kind of combined the things that I really love doing. I mean, um, subjects that I really am interested in. Uh, it it combined it was a lot of research and it was a lot of writing. So I kind of hunkered up in the Penn State library and started logging into like LexisNexis and JSTOR and all these like tools to be research tools, in addition to Google and whatnot, to be able to sort of get a sense of how this book project could be built out. And eventually found enough material to build out a manuscript, and then went through the process of obtaining the rights to that, which is a whole different layer with all the various like publishers and publications that were involved. And then finalized everything. Christopher Hitchens wrote an intro to it, the late great Christopher Hitchens. And then in 2009 it came out. The end part of that project was spent in Colorado after I graduated from college, just to where I lived on Owl Farm. for 8 months, and just kind of putting together any kind of loose ends in order to get the book to the point where we could ship it with DiCaprio Press and have it be released. And I'm incredibly proud of it because it's not like a book you sit down and read like a novel, but it's a book that you would get this bigger picture of who Hunter really was after you consume it. And I think it's a really valuable research tool. And then I also the other thing that was amazing about it was it really opened the door to like professional writers and the media and how the media business really works in a way where I just that wasn't my world like in college. I still wanted to be a teacher. So that book kind of opened my eyes to, hey, if you want to write for a living, this is how to do that.
God, that's so cool. What do you remember most about that time, like when you were in Colorado, like the day to day?
I mean, it was a lot of like going through letters, notes, a lot of like deep research into like who some of the like political figures were in the 70s specifically. And then having some conversations with Anita around um, what the context of that would have been outside of knowing Hunter's um, work, like in himself. So there was a lot of that in the day to day, and then there was also a lot of the rights management, which was like that was like the biggest part of it. Was just the biggest part after the manuscript was put together, I should say, and edited, was to just bang on doors of, at the time, all of these magazine publishers and everything like that in order to have the legal clearances to make it happen. So it was a mix of like really, really complex, granular history to get it right and make sure that we have like all the fact checking done and all of that, mixed with like a lot of the legal aspects of how media business tends to work. So, but then in addition to that, she really encouraged me to start doing a lot of my own writing, writing on my own. And that was the time when I really wanted to do it. So I started blogging for like a local site out there called aspen.com. It was just local like news blogging, um, a lot of kind of sharing about new things happening in and out of this like pretty big tourist destination. Um, and that kind of made me think this is a path that I really like in digital, and could see myself being a part of in the future.
Okay, let's get into the BroBible stuff because I love a good origin story. Take me back to before it existed, what sparked the idea, and how you went about getting it off the ground.
Yeah, so BroBible was founded by a guy named Doug Banker. Doug started it in 2008. There was a group that had BroBible was already publishing by the time I had joined up with it. It really started as a message board for um, very niche like Northeast lacrosse players, like fraternity guys, like just a place where like really it was a message board, like. And that was that time where everybody in 2008 everybody wanted to start the next great social network, like. And that was like the thing was, hey, we can have a social network for bros, and it's not Facebook and not Twitter, all of that. um but what and I thought that was like super fascinating. I kind of was a reader of it from afar for a while, and then I noticed on this like writer message board. I don't even know if it exists anymore. It was called Ed 2010, but it's basically just saw a listing that they were looking for writers, and I was like, oh, this is my shot. Like, I'll throw my hat in the ring there. I was also writing for a couple other publications at the time, freelance. Was writing for AOL too, and I was waiting for AOL to get back to me with like a full-time job offer that would have moved me into their main office in Dulles, and just be integrated in this big corporate media internet thing. Um, so I started writing for BroBible, and then and one of the first big pieces that I put out uh, was this post on man caves, and like talking about what the idea of the man cave was through the lens of Tony Saragusa had a show at the time about it,
Yeah.
and I like kind of like made fun of it a little bit, and like it was just like a lot of jestful way of both ribbing the idea of a man cave and also kind of celebrating it. And that post did crazy well. It got picked up by Jimmy Traina at Hot Clicks, and that drove it a ton of traffic. It drove it more traffic than BroBible had ever seen in a 24-hour period. And then, a couple, like 2 weeks later, I went up to New York and met with Doug, and he was like, "Hey, like, we're trying to build this thing. Let's do it. Like, what would it take?" And yeah, and that was kind of the beginning. Like, and it was a shift away from that message board uh, thing that BroBible had into being more of a publication. And we kind of cemented the idea that, like, hey, millennial men, like, there's men's lifestyle magazines and there's ESPN and corporate sports, but there's just not a great thing in the middle of those two things. And I was just super excited about that idea because it could be a combination of the things that I loved around like great writing and just being timely and being snarky and all of that sort of thing, and responsive, and building an audience around it. So that was kind of the BroBible origin story. We kind of tripped into some traffic success, and then figured out how to just keep doubling down on it, like over and over again, until it was a viable brand.
Yeah. So as I mentioned in the intro, you guys were acquired by UPROXX, or whatever the holding company was called at that point. Same entity that my brands had been acquired under. So that put us under the
Yeah.
same umbrella. So that was cool. Um, and then sometime after I left, you guys managed to do some clever take backsies to get BroBible in your hands again.
Yeah.
Uh, what kind of lessons did you learn from that experience?
Well, I think my biggest lesson just about the like UPROXX experience as a whole was it was it so we sold in 2012 to, it was called Woven Digital, and we were the first company that it acquired. They needed to keep ad dollars more in house, and because they didn't own anything, they were just a rep firm that was selling advertisements on all of these websites. So acquiring BroBible was a way to keep revenue in the company at the time from those ad deals. And I think one of the things that I really learned was like, you have to, in that situation, you really have to know how to manifest your destiny. And we were bad at that. Like after that sale, we kind of looked at it as like, hey, we have all of these bosses and they're going to tell us what to do. And, we're going to just follow that blueprint. Um, and that blueprint was ultimately the wrong blueprint, like in so many ways. And I think is a big live and learn from just that experience as a whole, is like, know the value of your asset and the thing that you have, and also know how to build things from the top down versus like just being an employee. Like, you know, have your finger on the pulse of as many aspects of the business as you possibly can in order to see the vision through and have the best thing come out of it. So we bought BroBible back in 2018, and it was really nerve wracking for me at the time because I had moved to California the year before, and I wasn't really sure if the bet was going to pay off. to be honest. I was a little like ready for a new chapter, and I didn't really process that I wanted BroBible, like the new chapter, to be the continuation of this thing that I had helped build for years quite yet. And but ultimately, like, betting on yourself, like, I talked to a buddy and he was like, you have to bet on yourself. Like, what else are you, like, it's too early for you to be out. Like, just do it. Like, and that real talk was the best thing that I could have possibly have heard, because you know it's like, when you I think about this with like Phish. Phish broke up in 2004. They needed a hiatus. There were all these like issues with substance abuse and whole nine yards. They just needed a break. They needed time. But then when they got back in 2009, what they said was like, we're never gonna build another Phish. Like, we're not gonna do another like thing like this. And that always stuck in my head with BroBible, was like, we have the brand, people know it, strangers know it, it has a readership. I'm not going to do another one of those. Like, and doing another one of those with the same energy that I had to do it at 24 versus 34 is a total different story. So, yeah, that was like a big lesson. Like, if you build something really special, hold on to it and be a part of it as, closely as you can. And make sure that, your DNA is as much a part of it as possible, so that there's a lot of value that you create in that.
You called it a bet. Would you say you won the bet?
Yes, 100%. Like, it was a pretty lean year after we got it back in 2018. Sure. But then we started scaling. We were smart. We were really scrappy about what our like new advertising strategy looked like and revenue strategy looked like. And that just opened up so many doors to just basically go to people and be like, hey, what can we do together? What can we build from an advertising standpoint? And yeah, it's been a tremendous asset to still have this brand. And now, as I'm approaching as I'm in midlife, have it really pay dividends is like a pretty amazing and special thing.
Yeah, you mentioned the partnership stuff. You've done some really cool brand deals, including you just went on a 6,500-mile road trip with Shark Ninja earlier this year.
Yeah.
It looked pretty effortless from the outside, but I know a lot goes into those. Can you walk us through putting something like that together?
Yeah. So, this all came about over a beer at a conference in Vegas back in January. And, the gist is that, like, Ninja wanted to market their outdoor grill, smoker, cooler. They wanted to market it all to kind of our demographic of millennial men. And the idea was like, well, let's pack all these things up and take them on the road and show how you use them, like, in all of these spaces around the United States. And that was the gist. We produced a couple really beautiful like advertising assets, where I'm cooking or just grilling, smoking wings, smoking a brisket. I drove to Texas to smoke a brisket. Was making ribs. I fired up this grill in Monument Valley in the middle of nowhere in Utah, where Forrest Gump does the run. And it was a total blast. It was so much fun. Covering that much ground in like a little under 2 months is a lot. Like, it was a very, very big and very ambitious road trip. But I think because of it, the creative that we were able to create captures like the spirit of an American road trip really, really well. Like, and I think that's what I'm really, really proud of, is that, I'm at the Grand Canyon, but also like got my Ninja toys with me, and like stuff like that. So it was there were definitely some like there were definitely some moments where I kind of had to do a little like soul searching, but
Hmm.
eye on the prize of a great project, and now that it's concluded, I'm just so incredibly proud of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, most importantly, it looked like a blast. Do you have advice for brands or creators looking to lock in partnerships that are actually like they look fun and don't look painful? Because there's a lot of bad ones out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think like there's this kind of theory out there that like products sort of market themselves these days, like, and I think there's a little bit of a fallacy to that. I think you have to
Hmm.
build excitement around the use case of what that product actually is. And setting and storytelling are the two things that, to me, do that. If you can take a product and you can put it somewhere where it has more audience capital to it and resonates with people more, it's just a better look for what that product actually is. And then also storytelling. So much creator product plugs are either really bad testimonials or like just talking about the product itself, like the features of the product, and not actually building up a narrative around it where there's a conceit and some tension and all of these things. And I really think that like creators need to think more about how to build a great conceit and tension up in their uh, in their creative to drive more eyeballs to it. Like for the road trip, it was a lot of I have to get here by this time, so it becomes this kind of amazing race type of conceit where like the way we edited everything was in this frantic like I got to get here. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. And like, I think if creators, I think we would just have a more fun, like, creator internet if people were thinking about that a little bit more versus just, hey, what's this feature? Let's talk about the product all the time and let it sell itself. Because to me, that's just like QVC. Like.
Yeah, not to turn this into like a ninja infomercial, but almost overnight, my daughters became obsessed with the Ninja Creamy,
Of course.
and they'd never seen a commercial for it or like
Yeah.
a static ad. It was all creators showing like really cool stuff that they made that other products can't, produce, or maybe they just aren't showcasing it as well. But yeah, that stuff works so well.
Yeah, it's just an extension of your creativity.
Yep.
And there's all these abilities and that, there's no ceiling on that really. And I think like when people start thinking about how they can do that, I think then I think it just opens up so many doors. And it of course a little bit of it is dependent on the product, but also
Yep.
not really. Like, you could do it with clothing, you could do it with shoes, you could do it with uh, like a men's grooming brand or something like that. There are ways to bring like creative storytelling approaches, but it has, in my experience, that has to fall on the creator to do that. No one's going to tell
Mhm.
you like to do that on the brand side. So you kind of have to be the master of your own destiny in order to really like bring that to the table.
Would that be your number one advice to the brands? Is like you're getting in bed with the creator, like let them do their thing.
100%. Like give your guidelines, like
Mhm.
give a brief, but let them do their thing to be able to show to just optimize how much creativity they can really have around it. I think like uh, to quote Shakespeare, comparisons are odious. And I
Mhm.
think marketing teams sometimes are constantly comparing creative to their most successful one. And, you're just not going to replicate that. Like, like
Yep.
you're not like you're not going to replicate that with the same DNA you gave to that person. Like there's a snowflake effect here where it's all going to be very, very different. And the more brands try to chase that, that adrenaline rush that they got from the first really successful thing, the less likely they're going to have it if they're, being too demanding in their briefs, or not really leaning into the creative options that can really happen.
Definitely. So your new podcast is called the Mostly Occasionally Show.
Yeah,
that's pretty smart. Absolves you from adhering to a strict publishing schedule. Can you talk about the purpose of the pod?
Yeah. I'm glad that you said that, because I was like, I am not going to do this every week, but but I will do it mostly occasionally.
It's perfect.
I just feel like, BroBible now is it's been 15 years since I've been involved in BroBible, almost exactly to the date, and we continue to have just so many opportunities open to us as a brand, from all kinds of creative people, people in sports, people in music, people in culture, entertainment, etc. And as time has gone on, it's been really exciting that we're considered this mainstay. And I just kind of wanted to, rather than having a opportunity to talk to somebody and write about it in this like kind of old school magazine feature way, I wanted a place where those conversations could live on their own, to be consumed as actual conversations. And all the tools are there to do it, and everything like that. So I wanted to kind of start a podcast that can just preserve all of these things and live on, because one of the regrets that I have is that we've had so many amazing experiences over the years, but a lot of that hasn't been preserved as media in various ways, and or it hasn't been under a very cohesive franchise in order to do it. So 15 years in, this is my attempt to have a space where it can live and be a little bit of a part of like BroBible storycraft and a dimension of BroBible, but also, not to sound like an egomaniac, but like also a part of my own like storycraft and preservation to, getting older and just thinking about legacy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you've definitely interviewed and rubbed elbows with a lot of famous people during the BroBible run. Is there like one story or interaction that stands out to you?
The one that like to me is really, really surreal is when I got to talk to John Madden, and that was in 2016. I always say that because like that he was the person that I talked to that like everybody I told thought it was cool. Like my grandparents, my parents, like there was no like nicheness to it. And he was completely, I think we had like 15 minutes allotted, but ended up talking for like almost 90 minutes, just because he's John Madden. He just goes like, and you're a fool to stop him. And no publicist on the other end of the line wanted to stop him either, because he was cooking. And it was just a really, really special experience to be able to like talk to someone about football over his three very distinct different chapters in the NFL. And like I said, I think the coolest thing about it was that everybody I told about it was really, really excited. So that to me is still like a really special one. There have been other ones that have been more impactful from like a news standpoint, or a traffic standpoint, which obviously is important for us as a business. But that one is the one where I'm kind of like, it was kind of a very like sacred moment for me.
Yeah, Madden is a crazy bar to clear. Do you have a dream guest for the podcast?
Um,
I should mention you've already done in 3 episodes a bluegrass legend, Turtle from Entourage, and one of the biggest DJs in the world. So you're already checking some pretty nice boxes there.
I really want to interview John Mayer. That's
Okay.
actually, and John Mayer kind of came up in my conversation with Zed. Only because I think he's very eloquent, and has a lot of wisdom in how he talks to people. I like talking to people though that have some generational, like, some generational alignment with my experience too. So that's, yeah, like Mayor I think would be really cool. I think I'd like to eventually get a little bit more granular um in talking to like internet personalities, but I
Mhm.
don't really want it to be focused on like, internet personalities too. I want it to be focused on like people that have some cross pollination with their creativity in like different spheres.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So we've covered your journey from Hunter S. Thompson, all the BroBible stuff, podcasting, video creation, sales. Anything else on the horizon that you want to conquer?
I want to write a book really badly.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
That's like my big thing, is that like I feel like the internet to me is it's awesome. It's this always on dopamine machine that
Hmm.
involves a lot of thoughtfulness to it and everything like that. But I also think that we're really living in this time where there's just so much of everything. And these analog medias, to me, have such a specialness, and how they're consumed and how people have like a takeaway for them. Um, and that to me is a big lane that I wanna go down, is writing a book where your thoughts can be consumed outside of just a blog post, or a Instagram 90-second Instagram reel, or like something like that. I feel like we're really starting to, or we're really in the era where long form is cool. It's just cool in
Yep.
all these different other medium spec, media lanes like podcasting, etc. And that's like a avenue that I really really want to go into, where there's focus, and there's a thesis, and it's not just like chasing traffic all day, which is what blogging, as you know, Ryan, can be.
Yep. Yeah, it's a horrible place for your brain to be. You seem very like focused on legacy and staying power all of a sudden. Did something spark that in particular, or is it just trying to break free from the shackles of this cycle that we're all stuck in?
I think it's that. I think it's also a little bit that, um so my grandfather passed last year,
Mm.
and I had all these conversations with before he passed, and also with my grandma after he's passed. I had all these kind of conversations with them about like how they didn't really feel like they ever understood what I did for a living and my career and that sort of thing. And it really got me thinking more and more about how the internet, like how there has been a little bit of a generational hurdle to the blogger life, and an understanding, beyond just very online people, if you will. And that really made me start to think more about how, as a creative, I can do things that aren't just a traffic dopamine hit. Um, and also like tell the BroBible story in a bigger way, where it isn't just on BroBible. Because I think that's something like we are really good at doing the thing that we do in our own world. And we run like a well-oiled machine, and we're really proud of that machinery. But we're really not great at going outside of that. And I think going outside of it to me is like our new frontier, and where our kind of horizons get expanded, and where this business that I've been a part of for 15 years can become a 30-year and like, longer type of entity. Media brands like, you know, media brands are long-term brands. Like Esquire was started in the like 1910s or something like that. Vanity Fair, etc. And I think like to me, it would be a shame if there isn't ways for BroBible to have its tentacles in all these other different, dimensions where people understand that the brand is kind of propped up. So I think that answers your question, but that's kind of why I'm thinking the way that I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, I've definitely encountered that. Not a lot of grandparents are impressed by a spiking parsley chart. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
it's like you should right. That's it exactly. Like it's like a video game, even though there is a tangible dollar
Yeah.
associated with it that impacts your revenue and income. And in our case, like 17 people's livelihoods.
Hmm.
Um, it still is a hard thing for people to grasp.
Totally. All right. Before we get to our standard internet questions we ask everyone, and most guests see them coming,
Yeah.
I have a bonus surprise Brandon internet question.
Ooh.
Yeah. So for as long as I've known you and followed you, you've had really good takes about media and digital media in particular.
Yeah.
What is your hottest digital media take or prediction right now?
Ooh. Okay. So short form video is here to stay as a thing, but its importance is going to be dwindling. Um, I think that the creator economy is is starting to have some of the very same issues that the blogosphere had 10 years ago with scale
Mm.
and reach and economics. And I think that I don't think it's a bubble that's going to burst, but I think history is really starting to repeat itself on what happened with a lot of written independent publishers with the idea of the creator economy right now. And it's minting celebrities, and some of those celebrities are really good at figuring out how to turn it into a business. Others are really bad at it, and the tools aren't there for instant monetization. But I just think there's going to be big time diminishing power in diminishing communication power in short term video, where people eventually like it just goes into it's in one ear and out the other, just like the noise of the blogosphere was. And I mean, it's becoming to me a place where like there just are no sacred cows, and the platforms just they don't care. It doesn't behoove them to care. Let everybody kind of put them in a field and let them fight it out.
Okay, I buy into this. So if the attention economy is finite, it's a zero sum game, and those eyeballs are less and less consuming short form video, where do you see those eyeballs going?
I think people are going to start consuming less, if I'm being totally
Okay.
honest. I think that people are obviously going to go to YouTube for uh long form depth based like things. Um I don't think there's going to be this. I think we're going to start to see a diminishing return in consumption. Or the things that I think people are going to consume are things that are, and we already see a lot of this, are things that have like cross platform appeal. Like the Olympics
Right.
was a great example and
Mm.
football obviously is always a great example. Uh, Music, pop culture, music, etc. Like this medium of short form exists to engage like people that are commoditizing what they do elsewhere, you
Mm,
know?
yeah.
And I think that power is only going to grow. But I think the idea of like the creator business that's trying to earn, a lot of bonus money from Instagram or YouTube based off of like, their views. I think I don't think it's scalable, and I don't think it's going to I don't think it's going to turn, I don't think that's going to be a viable career path like 2 years from now.
Yeah, this is anecdotal, but I think that youths are over that.
Yeah.
Just watching my kids consume TikToks now, they will swipe, 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 and they will land on something that, as like TikTok keeps expanding the duration of the videos, they'll watch a 15-minute video. You just
Yeah.
have to like present them with something that's actually interesting.
Yeah.
So they don't want those 30-second clips anymore.
No, like I think like all that kind of hacky retention stuff. I think everyone's kind of having their reckoning right now with the fact that it was hacky, and there's just so much. I mean, the noise out there. The more noise there is, even with views that you can quantify it with, the less valuable it is.
Yep, I totally agree. All right, let's get to our dumb internet questions we ask everyone. Brandon, right now, how many tabs do you have open on your web browser?
Oh man, I got to count. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23,
This is a
24.
publisher.
24.
This is publisher mode right now.
24 and one incognito behind it with just one on it.
I'm not going to ask what's on the incognito. Is that pretty typical? Like, do you usually have more or less? I feel like you're just always going to have 20 or more.
Yeah, always 20 or more. I'm pretty standard 20 or more.
All right, let's get into some of the others. When you open your social media apps, what are the algorithms feeding you right now?
Ooh, right now I'm always getting a lot of music content by virtue of how they index me. I'm starting to get I'm also getting, what I'm getting a lot of that I noticed? I went fishing on vacation in the Sierras a couple weeks ago, and I am bombarded with like fishing and fly fishing creators right now in a way where I did not seek it out. It just man, I just I just went to like a fly shop and, Googled a couple of things, and now I'm just it's so much fly fishing content.
That lane is so foreign to me. Like, what is a fly fishing creator? What are they doing? Are they showing techniques or what's happening?
No, it's a lot of hey, here's we went fishing on it was a great day on the Snake River in Idaho. But there's a really interesting thing in it where these creators will go somewhere, they'll show them catching fish, they'll have some kind of clever aspirational caption associated with it, but the commentary is often a lot of where are you, where was it, etc. And there's a whole thing where no one wants to blow up their spot, so the dialogue is in the comment section is people trying to literally fish for information on where they were able to catch a lot of fish, and the creator just be like, nah, I'm not telling you.
There's some parallels with there's some parallels with surfing with that, because we had Ben Gravy on here, the YouTube surfer. He's amazing dude. He was talking about not blowing up spots, so I guess there's some parallels there.
Yeah, it's it's a really, really fascinating dynamic, and I think that's actually what powers the algorithm is a lot of people trying to get more information out of some of these creators, and they just don't give it up.
That's fantastic. All right, favorite accounts to follow on social media?
Ooh, okay, let's see here. When you say on social media, what platform are we talking?
Whatever you're spending the most time on. It could be Reddit or any of that kind of stuff.
Nice. So on Reddit, I'm really into on Reddit. I'm really into the older millennial subreddit right now because I feel like it's like very niche like experiences.
Hmm.
Um, Instagram, Instagram to me is interesting because it's become a big in addition to like humor and all the other stuff, it's become a big news consumption channel for
Hmm.
me. And I think like I get a lot of my news that I used to get from blogs and sites on Instagram and Twitter. I get more from Instagram these days than I do from Twitter. There's one account though that I really love called Work Retire Die that Friday Beers
Oh
runs,
yeah, it's
and
a
it's
classic.
super like funny takes on just work life balance and like corporate culture and everything like that. I'm obsessed with it. I really love the work that they do. I think they're really funny.
Everything I see on that account just makes me so happy. I don't have to go in an office every day.
Yeah, exactly. It's like just it's created to just hate your job, you know?
So relatable. What is a corner of the internet people might be surprised you're interested in?
Ooh, okay. Um, so I mean, this is kind of controversial, I think, in the writing world. Um, there, but I'm fascinated by like I like reading about some of these like AI technologies,
Mhm.
um, and how people use them and use cases and stuff like that. So I really enjoy like, especially on Reddit, reading about like how what some of the updates are on like large language models and other like innovations that are happening in that world. And especially like because with Reddit, you kind of have people sherping you through like what some of the software tools are on it. Um, and providing recommendations is the wrong word, but like education around what those are. So I do really like that world. Um, in addition to that, I love the automotive internet world too. And I think that might surprise people because I'm not really like a car guy, but
Mhm.
I follow like all of the cars that I like. I love following their enthusiast Reddits on their enthusiast subreddits, and then how those percolate into like Instagram as well. I'm really like it's one of those things to me where it's very aspirational, but just fun to read other people being very technical and know-howy in it.
I found that more and more on the internet. Like I'm just captivated by anything people are passionate about. So
Yeah,
I could totally see like falling into a community like that and
yeah.
just really enjoying the content, regardless of you're not going to go like fix up a Bronco or anything like that.
Yeah, that's it entirely. Like I just enjoy like reading people being, enthusiastic and passionate about it. Like
Mhm.
maybe it's middle age, but yeah.
What is the last thing that made you truly laugh online?
Okay. I got a good one for this.
All right.
All right. So my fiance showed me this guy named Jacob Jones, who blew up on TikTok but has been on YouTube for a while. Um, Jacob Jones is a cigarette influencer. He is a professional cigarette influencer. He reviews cigarettes from all over the world. I don't smoke, but his reviews are really entertaining and incredibly self-deprecating. And he has this like persona to him where he is just it's it's just absolutely it's so chaotic to watch. um and he's not performing either. I think that's like a really important thing is the way that performing is like cringy in the way that all influencers are kind of cringy,
Sure.
but he just goes, man. He cooks. he had this one TikTok go viral where people asked him if he had a girlfriend or, as a cigarette influencer. And he said, no, he doesn't. He's just married to the smoke. And, while ripping cigs. It's incredibly simple, but really, really, really funny.
Man, yeah, almost 1 million followers between TikTok and YouTube. So he's got something going here. He's taking requests on TikTok.
Oh yeah, he is building up like a very passionate fan community. Like
just single-handedly going to bring back smoking.
Yeah, he had we were watching a video where he's like he only smokes cigarettes for his reviews in like public parks. And he had someone come up to him who was like, don't you go getting lung cancer now? And it's like, I don't know. It's an interesting lane to choose, but he's doing it in a way that is very entertaining. That's for sure.
There truly is like a lane for anything as long as you're entertaining.
Yes, that's it. Wait, can I punt that question to you, Ryan? What is your current funny thing that you're obsessed with?
Oh, I will tell you what I've been enjoying. The Oasis reunion is bringing back all of these headlines of Oasis stories that like I had not read over the last 10 or so years. And I'm getting a real kick out of them. The one I read today was Liam Gallagher thought A$AP Rocky's name was WhatsApp Ricky, which is just incredible. And there's a flood of these. Like I like Oasis. I grew up in the 90s. So of course they're like omnipresent. Yeah. I enjoy the brothers bickering at each other, but there's just so much content that I did not realize was out there. And it's just, everyone's reheating it because that's the way the internet works. And it's fantastic.
There's decades of like little blips that like that have been added up for this moment in time.
It's tremendous. I'm so glad they're together. I can't wait to see how it falls apart.
It's going to be great. It's going to be excellent content.
The memes are already they're amazing. And they're going to just get better as like things get worse.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting that we all have that like Darren Rovell, like, oh, this is going to be tremendous content.
I feel bad for our country, but this is tremendous content. In this case, I feel bad for several countries, but it's pretty great.
Awesome.
All right. What was your most scarring moment on the internet, if you can bring yourself to disclose it?
No, there have definitely been some weird people in the BroBible orbit, like over the years. Like there was this one guy that was constantly like emailing me and like everybody that he had all this like inside information on the Illuminati. And like the frequency of which he would like send it and the way they were written, while never like threatening or anything like that, was always just a little like, this is weird. Like, what do you do? Like,
oh no.
Yeah. And it was, I think that's just the nature though of that was just, look, we just chalked it up as that's the nature of what we do as a publisher, to have that kind of feedback loop from people. I wouldn't say it was scarring in any ways at all, but like it does make you realize the power of publishing, like because sometimes, especially now that we're all remote, you forget that you put these things into the world and like they do get in front of people and people do have their various ways of how they read or interpret them. And sometimes, the ways that their brain interprets them is not rational, so
no, there's a lot of weirdos out there. It also makes you like more sympathetic to like when someone like Chapel Roan kind of hits back about how she's being mistreated or the attention she's getting. And so many people chalk it up to like, well, you want to be a pop star, this is what it is. But like, you don't really want those kind of fans and those kind of people paying attention to you all the time.
No, that's a distraction to the art. And, there has to be a boundary. You know what I mean? Like always.
Totally. All right. How do you pry yourself away from your devices or log off when you need to?
Um, doing the dishes. That's my
Oh,
like. Yeah, that's my no device, no dopamine time. It's the easiest, like, to have a chore to do is like the best way to, end the scroll.
and you're raw dogging that? No podcast, no nothing?
No podcasts, no music, just
Wow.
dishes. And we we do not have a dishwasher in our apartment. So we are like, so I'm hand washing it.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to say, you in particular, it almost seems like you have 48 hours in a day. Like you are prolific online, but it also seems like you're out there enjoying life. So I figured you had some kind of tactic
Yeah,
up
that's
your
like,
sleeve.
I think that's the big thing. I mean, I'm also a big, like, I'm a big walker too. Like
Mm,
I really believe in the power of, like, hey, you can get up from your desk and put the laptop down and
mhm.
just go be in the world. And walking is kind of my therapy on that. It's kind of how I balance my thoughts, and also how I plan too, and how I kind of work through whatever, I don't know, whatever, like, thing I need to work through at the time. And I think walking is just the ultimate, for me, the best, like, balance on that. And I'm not talking like huge things. I'm talking like 10 minutes around the block.
Yeah. Where would you be without the internet?
Ooh, that is a really good question. I don't know. I have no idea. I would be a teacher probably,
Hmm.
in central Pennsylvania, probably not very far from my hometown. Um, there's no doubt it's been the biggest and best tool to open up all of these different worlds. Um, but without it, I 100% would probably have been on a career path where I was teaching, and probably throwing, and, doing so enthusiastically, uh, but without really knowing back in like 2006, 2007, that there was a lane to have a career online. um I definitely would have been just kind of stuck in that. I don't want to say stuck, but I would have been in that path. Like, I don't want to sound condescending about it at all, because teachers are
Mhm.
really important, but like, that definitely wouldn't have felt like I could have grown out of that.
Sure, that makes sense. What's the one thing on the internet you'd save if it all went bye bye tomorrow?
Um, I mean, like, selfishly, all of my writing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't like. I feel like there are. I just feel like every day in the publishing world, there's a new algorithm thing happening, and, for sites like BroBible that have been around in all these different eras, where, like, 2013, what the Google algorithm wanted is very different from in 2024 what the Google algorithm wants.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that algorithm is ultimately the gas that goes in the car to fuel the business. So I always like when what was it, MTV News shut down the other week, and all of these writers were like, "Oh, all my stuff isn't like, is gone, blah blah blah." I mean, my impulse was kind of like, "Well, what were you doing for the last 15 years not saving it?"
Yeah.
Like, like, if it was really important to you, like, I mean, Viacom's not going to save it for you, like, so you should probably do that. Take some initiative and do that yourself. And I really, that's kind of become like my new thing, is like, preserve, preserve, preserve. So selfishly, I would preserve my stuff just to have it and be able to have it insert in various cultural moments when is necessary. Um, and other than that, like, I think all the great websites of the blog era deserve their place in history somehow. And it really sucks that it's like not important anymore to Google and um, the information and knowledge graphs now, because I think that style of writing was really raw and really authentic and really important. And to not have like context around a movie that came out or a meme, to have it just evaporate to me is absolutely tragic. So I think if you were a writer online from like 2008 to 2000, it's called 16, like you know that work needs to be preserved somewhere somehow, but just so people can understand that era a little bit better.
Yeah, I totally co-sign that. Not only would I want to preserve that, but I would love for the internet to go back to that era. It was just
Yeah.
there's a little more attention paid to things. You're actually reading and writing. It was pretty nice. Not to sound like old man yells at cloud.
No, I mean, and also it's just you could have like you could be a channel that had some personality beyond just the lane that you had to be in. Like I always
Right.
think about how Deadspin used to conclude its day at the end of the day with like a random concert clip, and
Yep.
like that, and that was just a place for people to digest something a little bit different after all this sports news. And those little things like are so gone from this era of publishing.
Yep. Totally agree. All right. Thank you, Brandon, for this
Yeah,
discussion.
this was great,
And
Ryan.
for,
Thank you so much, man.
of course, and for your many contributions to the internet. This is Ryan Perry saying log off. The internet will still be there when you get back.